Hello there. Somebody put this question to me a long time ago. Would you consider IVF God's miracle? I decided to throw it open. We are still His word made flesh. Any word of God, we stand on that. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. My guest is the medical director, Medical Arts Center, co-pioneer of IVF in Nigeria. Prof, you're welcome. Thanks for honoring our invitation.
It's a pleasure.
Well, I know that Medical Arts Center deals with IVF.
Yes.
What goes into making IVF? What goes into IVF?
IVF, I can say, is now a simplified technology whereby in the normal situation for a woman to conceive, the husband must meet with the wife and sperm is released into the womb. And this sperm would travel through the womb into the tube of the woman, where the egg that woman produces monthly would also travel from the abdomen to meet the sperm in the tube, and fertilization will occur. And then the fertilized embryo will now grow in the tube and find its way back into the womb, where it now grows into a matured baby in 9 months, and the baby is delivered. What IVF technology originally came for were people who had blocked tubes. And a woman's tube can be blocked, not necessarily from, as some would think, from being promiscuous. It could be blocked from even having high fever from malaria, or having some other infection like appendicitis. So the tube could be blocked from such situation. Such women will have no other way of getting pregnant before. Steptoe and Edwards came with the technology that they improvised almost 30 years ago, 1978 precisely, although they had worked on it 4 years before then, but they succeeded in 78, and they brought into the world the first IVF baby, Louis Brown. And they are now being rewarded for this by a Nobel Prize. So that is what IVF means. You take the egg from the woman, you get the sperm from the husband, and you mix them together in the laboratory instead of in the tube. But you now have a tube in the woman's tube. You now have a tube in the lab that you mix them together, and this embryo will now develop for 3 days, maximum 5 days in the lab, and then you put it back to the woman's womb to grow further. So in the 9 months of conception, the only time the embryo is out of the woman is for 2 or 3 days in the lab. Okay. And then she now has a baby normally.
Prof, I know that when this whole IVF thing started in 1978, there was so much controversy and so much uproar that it just this week that Dr. Edwards was finally rewarded.
Yes.
And I also know that most people who have IVF really don't talk about it.
Correct.
And then most of them who even go to church to do a Thanksgiving service just say, I prayed to God and I waited and God blessed me and I have a baby. They don't talk about it because of the controversy, or how people will view them, or how they will view the baby. So I want to ask you, before we come to all of that, would you consider IVF God's miracle?
Let me answer your first statement. Okay. The reason that people don't talk about IVF is more of a Nigerian or an African phenomenon, probably more of Nigerian phenomenon and to some extent African phenomenon. It does not apply to IVF alone. It applies to many things that involves medicine. Somebody will have high blood pressure. They don't want to tell you they have high blood pressure. They're taking medication to control the blood pressure, but they don't tell you. In America, somebody has cancer of the colon. He's ready to tell you that, oh yes, I had cancer of the colon and I've been treated and I'm fine. We are a bit secretive about our medical conditions. And I think that maybe somewhere along the line, we believe that to be sick, maybe there's a problem. Yes, maybe there is a form of reason. So people don't want to reveal the fact that they are ill, and that is a major problem for us in this country. Now, in terms of whether IVF is a God's miracle or not, I think...
I don't think, be sure.
Yes, I think I am too... Yes, right. I think I'm too low in creation to be able to say something is God's miracle or not. I think it's too, the Almighty is too far up there for me to say that whatever is here is, it's either it's miracle or it's not. What I can tell you though is that if you look at the whole of creation and you look at events that have happened in creation, there is nothing that occurs in this creation that is not by his own, that he doesn't know about.
Hold that thought, hold that thought, Prof. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back with this interesting topic after this. Welcome back. Prof, you were saying that you're too low in God's creation to decide if something is God's miracle or not. That's where we were before we went on.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You can't. We human beings are far from Him to know what He's done or what He's not done. But what you can see is that maybe you can see the radiation of His work and see that maybe it was inspired by Him. Take for example, when people used to die from infection and somebody created penicillin and it has become a health to mankind that you now can treat infection. If you look deeper into a lot of the theological writings, you will know that we, mankind, we had everything given to us in plenty from above. At the first people in creation had no problem in conceiving. They had no problem in providing food for their family. They had no problem in treating their family. In fact, as recent as maybe some years, maybe a few hundred years, in each household, you know that there were people who knew what herbs were there to treat what situation. These were given, these were inspired from above. So, and in my own belief, it was the apple tree that created the problem. When Eve became tempted, and that is Lucifer, that we're talking about. Then, and there are deeper explanations to this anyhow, and then Adam fell for it. Then there was a divine wrath that came, that because of this, you will labor to feed your family, and so on and so forth, and that you, woman, to deliver you, it will be in pain. the other animals go through delivery. They don't get any assistance. I mean, other mammals. Even the cow will have a baby, his baby easily. But it is man that had this. But as a result of divine love, again, there was divine help sent from above in the Son of God to redeem us and to bring us closer to Him. And bringing us closer to Him, in my own rationale, means that there will be knowledge for you to get close, to remove some of those issues that have been put into place. And those knowledge, the Almighty is going to come from above to do that. He will radiate that help through individuals that will do it. And if you are really if you are humble, you will see some people that do some things, and you will know that this gift is in the Bible. Everybody has a gift from above. Gift of speech, gift of knowledge, gift of hearing. Each one, but each one of them, they complement each other. So in my own thinking, whatever you are doing here is inspired.
But you cannot, well, like you said, that you're too low in God's creation to decide if it's a miracle or if it's not. So you will not say
human beings, all human beings are low in God's creation. We are. There is such a gap. For us to think that we're not sure. I mean, it's too heavy.
to say whether it's God's creation or not.
Well, to me, I believe that it's inspiration from Him. Yes, but I don't want to use the word miracle.
Okay. Hold the thoughts. Don't go anywhere. Hello, welcome back. Joining us is Ivf A Miracle, the CEO of Blackwell Communications. Ivf, you're welcome. And also Remy, my dear friend and sister, Remy Diagbare, editor Allure, Vanguard Newspapers. She's always there for me when I call her. Remy, thanks. Bless you. And well, still continuing this discussion is Professor Dakbo Ashiru. Okay, Remy. Okay, let me start with Jide. Jide, the topic is, would you consider IVF God's miracle?
Yeah, well, the problem with that is we have attached a lot of importance to childbearing and just like having cars and houses and being married, and we attach a lot of attachment. So the miracles that we need, He has finished everything. It is now left to us. We are gods. We take things in our hand. We do exactly what we want. God has given us the power to subdue the earth. This is like a territory of God that is not conforming with heaven. Heaven is fine. He said, let's make man in our image to subdue the earth. When you hear things like subdue, it means there's a problem there. God wants us to take over the earth. So there's something like we are not...
So then it means that what you're saying is that if God has given us the power to subdue the earth, are you saying, like Prof said, that the power, that the ability or the knowledge or the wisdom to have IVF is God inspired?
It is God.
So it's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
I think the important thing he's saying, which I agree with, is that really, when God created man, when we talk about in His own image, we were endowed with everything. And those things are still here. I tell people that, what science are we talking about? The science was there before. Every single science you talk about, is it going to the moon by man? It was already available to us, but we lost it. Look at a place like like in Egypt, those pyramids. They were built when there was no, whatever we think as technology now, there was not there, but they had something to do it. That people look at them now and say that, how
did they do this?
Yes, how are this possible?
Remy,
Yes.
would you consider IVF God's miracle,
Well,
God-inspired?
First of all, I want us to, before I start, let's ask ourselves, what is a miracle? I will try to define what a miracle is, first of all. What would you say? Let me try to open to all of us here.
Well, I don't. I think that is why I talk about miracle being a bit special
Okay,
word.
would you say it's
Because
God-inspired?
miracle were the things that we knew our Lord Jesus did when he was on earth. And
Supernatural.
those
Supernatural
things,
things that
yes.
happen suddenly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That happen
Well,
without,
when you actually
it just happens.
It happened.
Did you agree? A miracle is something.
Well,
It's a miracle when it just happens.
considered, prior to this time,
Yeah.
impossible.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, that's a miracle.
That's what people
Even
that was strange then. too.
Yes.
Take for instance, what most Christians believe that, some Christians believe that, like Sarah, what you do
That's
is
what-
pray about it and wait on the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And that they say that you're going to do IVF is that you're helping God.
That's in
That's
fact. Let me
angle.
just cut in there. Let me.
That's where some
Let me
people
come in
come
there.
from, yes.
Let me. That's
So-
where I was coming. That's where I'm going to. Now, God allows everything. Like you said, He's done everything for us. It's for us to
For the
now begin
control of
to
the
subdue and take over. Now, the IVF process, for me, I call it the Hagar process. The normal conception is a Sarah process. Now, what is the Hagar process? You know, God has given you
Like
go
Ishmael
yes,
and
get
Abraham.
and multiply, and make and have children and all that. It's been there.
Go ye
And
and
he told
multiply.
Sarah that you're going to have a child.
So
But
child
she-
of
she-
promise and
Promise, yeah, but she couldn't wait. Then she decided to help out, and she got Hagar
Ishmael.
to go. So IVF is helping God. I mean, doing what God has set out to be, not normally in the Sarah way of doing things. God does not condemn it. He allows it to happen. You know, so it's one of the processes that God has allowed, just like He allowed Hagar. He blessed Hagar, He blessed the child Ishmael. But the normal way is the Sarah way, which is the normal
So
concept.
if a woman came to you who strongly believes in God, her faith in the Lord is strong, and she says to you, I want to go and do IVF. I've prayed, I've waited, and it's not happening. What would you say to her?
I won't condemn. I won't tell her not to. Do you understand? She should do what her heart tells her to do. I can't tell her don't go and do it. And I'm not saying IVF is wrong. But whether I will call it a miracle expressly as we call a miracle is what I'm not going to subscribe to.
And like Professor Ashiru, you're too low in God's creation to call it a miracle.
No, I am a child of God. I'm a friend of God. I'm part of the family of God. So I won't go that way.
We are God's sake.
Yes.
I mean
So
God.
I'm not that low in.
You know,
Bible says
well,
that He made us little.
Well,
we're
let
lower
me
than the-
let me say,
Yeah.
let me maybe
Hold the
redefine
thought,
it.
Prof.
When you
Hold
talk
that
about
thought, Prof.
when you talk about low in
Hold the thought,
creation,
Prof. When we come
it's not
back,
that
we will
low.
continue with this
You
discussion.
know,
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. We have another guest who has joined us on this topic, Reverend Afolabi of the Wise Sense Assembly. Reverend, you're welcome. And the topic still is, would you consider IVF God's miracle? Professor Ashiru says it's too low in God's creation to say that it is a miracle. And Remi Diagbare, Vanguard newspaper, says that God allows it, but she wouldn't consider it a miracle. And then Jide Omidiro of Blackwell Communication says that we attach too much importance to children and to all those things. And then joining us now is Reverend Afolabi. Reverend Afolabi, would you consider IVF God's miracle?
Absolutely.
Absolutely not.
No.
Why would you say that?
Well, according to Oxford Dictionary, a miracle is something that happened, a supernatural event, something that no man has any hand in. And we see some of this happening even in the scripture, in the Word of God, like the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ. Mary did not sleep with any man, and she became pregnant. And with that, we know that's a miracle. That's what we call a miracle. Like she said, I believe depends on what you mean by miracle. But if you are saying miracle, like I understand as a child of God, I know that's not a miracle.
What would you call it? That God allowed it or God inspired it?
No.
God didn't inspire it.
Inspired, but God allows.
God allowed it,
Yeah.
but God didn't inspire
No,
it.
no, no.
Why would you say God didn't inspire it? It didn't. It wasn't. I mean, I have to ask this question for our viewers.
Yeah.
But God is the giver of wisdom.
Yeah.
So why would you say? Isn't it God who gave that same wisdom for them to be able to enable them to do it?
No. We keep saying this. After creation, man fell.
Yes.
And then we begin to have, operate in a level that does not please God. And that gave birth to a lot of things. And like I said, God allowed it until,
The
the day
rapture.
of, yes, until rapture, until the day of judgment. But it is not inspired by God. No. No. There's so many events that we see today that is happening that people will think they will attribute it to God. But those who are walking with God, those who are close to God will tell you who will know. Those who are walking by the Spirit.
You know, like you said, somebody said to me that if you look in the Bible, there were some that prayed to God or said to Jesus, asked Jesus for healing. And Jesus looked at them and said, go, your faith has made thee whole. And they left and they were healed. And like the blind man, that Jesus had to stoop down to mix saliva with sand to form mud and apply it on him. The same thing with the axe head, the same thing with Hezekiah when he was sick. There was something that I was applied. Something was done extra. You understand? One would say that even though this happened, it's considered a miracle. Do you understand? There were some who had such strong faith. So if your faith cannot carry you to wait like Sarah waited, and you do IVF.
It's so simple. In Book of Hebrew, the Bible says, no man can please God without faith. If you're talking about God, you must have faith. Now, like I said, the intelligence of man, the wisdom of man grew. And we do things that does not please God once it's not of God. I mean, once it does not please God, it's not of God. This ones you describe it, that Jesus did, that was Christ. That was God. Today there's a lot of healing that people who will go looking for other power to heal people.
What about the powers of God that heals? What about those who actually heal by the power of God?
That's exactly what I mean. That's miracle. That's what we call
What would you
miracle.
say to what you just said?
Well, saying that a man has no part in the miracle, that's not really, I don't agree with that. Because the man that was sick, that was by the pool, said, go, will you want me to heal you? He said, I have nobody to
Take me to the
take me.
to-
He said, well, do you want to be healed?
Yes.
Go from now. That's well, that one is a miracle, like you said. For other places, Jesus will say, like, was it Hezekiah or Hezekiah that he was supposed to cut the fig tree and put it on his
The
thigh?
poultice and put it on where
That was
it
a miracle. God is dynamic.
Are you telling me that the man who is behind this said that God told him?
Please, I want to say
Like
something.
you said,
But we've not spoken to the man who started the IVF, so we'll never know if God spoke to him or not.
No, let me.
Was it inspired?
Let me.
God can
God
speak.
allowed
Be a
it.
Christian
God
to be
allowed
inspired.
He allowed it.
You don't have to be a Christian
Let
to be
us-
inspired by
let
God.
us-
God can
You have-
inspire anybody.
Let us even go basic. You are looking at the miracles of the early days when Jesus was around that were documented. And we're looking at events of today. When I said, you see, for example, take the simple, I won't say simple, one of the most important scientific events going on today is the fact that international space ship being manned by America, Russia, and all of them, where they are launching all the satellites. This mission started over years, and it was being built. They were sending the spacecraft to go there. And there was the last part of that mission. And they sent 8 astronauts there. This was in 2001, I believe, where the whole space capsule will now become functional. When these astronauts got up, they went there and they couldn't hook the main structure to that space capsule. They came back. They went the second time, the third time, and then the 8 of them, in humility, and when I talk about when I talk about low to increation, it's not in humility. They prayed to the Almighty God that they should be able to succeed, and they now went, and they succeeded. And the Newsweek and the Time magazine, every newspaper said that it was the heavenly intervention, that the astronauts prayed for heavenly intervention in that work. In IVF, when I want to go into the theater, for every single patient, I pray. And most of the people who are in IVF operations that I know, there are some who don't believe, but a number of them said that they will pray that God give us the assistance that will succeed. Because, and I would let you see the whole picture. And you go there, you take, if somebody has like 5 follicles, you begin to aspirate. In some of them, you get, let's say 10 follicles, you get 10 eggs. In some, you even get 12 eggs. In some, you don't get any eggs at all.
12 eggs means 12 children.
12, no, 12 possible children. Now, we're beginning to understand this. Now, you get this in the lab. 10 patients, you have 10 eggs from each of them, let's say. And you get the husband's sperm in each of them to fertilize the eggs. And you get, some will have 10 embryos, some will have 6, some will have 8, some will have 2, some will have nothing. The same process you're doing with them in the same lab.
So God is still involved.
And you're praying. The patient is praying. Now go to 10 people. You have, let's say you are going to put back 3 good embryos. And you put it in each of them. Only about 3 or 4 of them will get pregnant. Now, another miracle. You put back into somebody.
Hold that thought.
It is. This one, no, this one is a miracle.
Sorry,
I will tell you that.
We cannot finish this in one episode, but join us next week as we continue this amazing topic. And then start sending your emails to us and share your views if you see IVF as God's miracle, or that God just allows it, or if it's demonic. But every good and perfect gift comes from above, coming from the Father of lights, in whom there's no shadow of turning. Join us next week.